You guys are going to like this founder story. 2 years ago, this guy Dustin notices people are starting to build amazing things with AI. He knows how to build websites, but he's not an engineer. He messes around and he creates a chatbot for his website using AI. And this gives him the validation that he could build useful things with artificial intelligence. Maybe I should build a SaaS company for myself. There's just one problem. He has sunk almost his entire life savings into a different business, and that company is not really going anywhere. He has a tough decision to make. Keep working on his business that he sunk tens of thousands of dollars into, or throw all of that money away and make a massive pivot.
Find out what Dustin did. Now let's get to the interview.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Born in a small town, didn't want to stay in a small town, moved to California as soon as I graduated high school to pursue acting. Turns out it's really hard to break into the world of acting, and I didn't like waiting tables. Started working for a nonprofit as a youth director and found that I had a knack for the marketing side of things. Being a director of a nonprofit trying to raise awareness in the community for youth, I had a target audience, and it was right around the time social media started to really become the new thing. It was at a time where Facebook was like still cool for kids. And I sat in a conference room with a guy named Michael Hyatt, and he taught all about how to leverage social media and blogging to grow an audience. And so it came naturally to me. I started blogging about social media, started blogging about reaching a target audience, and taught myself web design. And before long, people were asking me, hey, you seem to know a lot about this. Do you think you could help our business with it? And just so happened that I could. And so I made a fairly successful marketing agency, started consulting small businesses and big businesses on content marketing, essentially as social media marketing, strategy, SEO, blogging, web design. Essentially, we built websites for people and drove tons of traffic to them. The thing about that is I found that I'm not cut out for service-based businesses because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And so I would spend way too much time trying to figure out how round the button should be and what color. And that doesn't scale well. So I found that digital products were a much better outlet for my perfectionism. I could help thousands of people with one product at a time. So I started building digital products. My first real SaaS company was a WordPress plugin. That company did fairly well, started in 2014, exited in 2020. And after that was looking for the next big thing that I could do to help a lot of people grow their business and build an online empire for themselves. That led me eventually to building Magi, which is where I'm at right now.
And so can you tell us what is Magi?
So Magi is, for all intents and purposes, ChatGPT on steroids. That's what it's been called many times. But essentially, when ChatGPT hit the scene, I realized that this was going to be a total game changer. As somebody who was working with clients still, after I exited my last software company, I took on some more clients to kind of keep myself afloat while I looked for the next product that I was going to build. And so I'd used marketing tools in the past that utilized AI, but they were all really bad. And when I started using ChatGPT, it instantly clicked. And instantly I thought, wow, this could be a lot better. Just the experience of it. Like, I wish I could search through my chats. I wish I could organize my chats. I wish I could separate my client work from my business work from my personal work. So all these little quality of life things started to build up, and it was just a no-brainer for me. I need to build a better version of this. And in the same token, it was like this other company was building their own OpenAI ChatGPT competitor, a company called Anthropic, and then Google was building a competitor, and then Meta was building a competitor. So I realized all these AI tools, and then you factor in the image generators, right? The video generators. All these AI things were popping up all over the place. And I was having to subscribe to like 15 different tools. And I just realized that is not good for business. It is not efficient. AI is supposed to help us become more efficient and get more work done. How are we getting more work done for less cost when we have 15 different subscriptions? We have to go to 15 different websites to get all these things done. So I thought, what if I brought all of these tools, these exact same tools that we're already using, that are already making our lives easier, bring them into one beautiful interface and one subscription for people, primarily for businesses and people who are, trying to grow and do things online with them, not just for the people who are experimenting or exploring or playing around, like for people doing real work. How can I make an app that allows them to leverage all this technology in one place and actually get work done?
Well, that's beautiful. So you kind of defined what it is and also what inspired you too. And so can you walk us through like the process of developing that product? So once you found inspiration, once you found the kind of need, what was that process of developing that?
Well, thankfully I had, 15 years of building websites and building digital products behind me. So I kind of already knew how to build it. It was just a matter of sort of wrangling in all these different AI models, all these different APIs, all these different technologies, and figuring out how do I put them together in a way that they can all be utilized in the same way so that the user doesn't have to relearn everything every time they want to use something different. It was really just a matter of doing what I know how to do, build beautiful experiences, and then just trying to make sure that under the hood, behind the curtain, so to speak, all of them kind of worked seamlessly together. That was really the hardest part, is wrangling them all to play nice together.
With that, like, how did you validate your idea? You kind of saw the real world use for it, but how did you find validation that maybe other people would also like the same thing?
Before starting Magi, between leaving my first software company and starting Magi, there were two other software products I tried to build. And I tried to do what I've always done in that I feel a need, I feel a gap in the marketplace. I have a need that I want to fill for myself, and I try to build a product for that. And it just so happened that those two products that I tried completely failed, and they failed miserably. I did all the marketing things that I learned over the years to launch them and to promote them, and they were just an awful failure. They did not find product market fit. People didn't get it. There were other solutions out there that they were already used to. And even though those solutions might have been more difficult and harder to use, maybe take more time, they were used to them. And so those products never took off. And so when it came time to build Magi, again, I saw the writing on the wall. This is going to change the entire world. Society is never going to be the same again. So at that point, it was just a matter of, how do I not reinvent what people are already doing? And how do I just build something that's better? Just the same experience, but maybe slightly better with more functionality. And so really the market validated itself because I wasn't doing something completely out of note. This was a very much aligned with what people were already wanting. Drive and the demand was already there. I just kind of made it much better of an experience for people. So it was already pretty much validated. And having built my own personal brand for the last 15 years, I did have quite a bit of an audience to start building from. I had an email list of over 50,000 people. So I was able to, just kind of tease out. I'm a fan of transparency. And so as I was building Magi, I was telling my community, here's what I'm building. Here's what I'm doing. Here's the progress I'm making. Here are my ideas, my thoughts. And the community was giving me feedback. Like, they were very vocal about, oh, this is great. Don't understand that. What if you did this? And so I was kind of actively building it with my community in a very public manner. And so I think that helped a great deal in shaping the product, and still continues to shape the product. I still listen to my community. I still listen to my customers. We have a private Facebook group where I get a lot of ideas from. People message me privately. So it was very much a community-oriented public build of a product. And that really helped with validation.
So all your skills from the last, decade or 15 years, however long you were saying, it kind of came together to help you build that next project then. Perfect. Yeah. And so, like, what hurdles did you have? Your biggest hurdles for like getting your first customer? You said you had that big email list, so I'm sure that helped quite a bit.
Yeah, I didn't have any trouble getting our first customers. Like I said, I built plenty of products before. This is probably, I would say this is my eighth or so digital product, if I'm including like courses and coaching programs and such. So yeah, getting the first customers wasn't hard. I already had customers in the past. But what was the most difficult was simply the technology. The technology is moving so quickly. And, with building websites, it's fairly easy. There's tons of tutorials out there. Even if somebody who has never built a website, they can research YouTube videos and find out millions of ways to build a website. There aren't that many tutorials on how to use AI technology, how to make these API calls work. And so the hardest part was just the technology is new. The use cases are still evolving. The capabilities were evolving at a neck-breaking pace. And so really the challenge is just, it's new. And the technology is emerging and changing constantly. And so just keeping up with the trends and the rate of advancement, and just making sure that it is as smooth as possible for the non-technical user, because there are a lot of developers out there, and developers are the ones that really take to this new technology. And the tendency of developers is to build tools for developers, people who understand technical things at a very high level. So when a normal person who's just trying to get work done tries to go use these tools that are made by developers, they don't make any sense because there's a gap there in knowledge and technical ability. So I really strive to make products that the average person can use without any learning curve or minimal learning curve, because obviously these things are new and there's going to be a learning curve. So I really aim for that, working for a business or they own a business, they're doing a lot of things, they have a lot of tasks, they don't have time to learn a bunch of new technologies and workflows. They just need to get work done. And so the hardest part is always to try and take this high level technology and simplify it for the average person so they don't have to relearn everything they've ever known.
So I hate to jump around, but I think it's a perfect segue to a question I have kind of later or had later written down is I read on your about page that you were a team of one. And so you said you kind of went from building websites to then bringing up more technical skills. Did you have to bring in anyone else to help you build Magi, or was it just all you learning? And how did you go about learning if it was all you who built it?
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was just me. My last two software products near bankrupt me. I sunk about $65,000 of my own cash in a couple of small investors who helped me get them off the ground, just paying a development team. And I had nothing left by the end of it. So I really had no choice but to build it myself. That was my only option, is to reach down deep and figure out how to build it myself. Now, I'm not a developer. Even to this day, I don't consider myself a developer. I know enough about code to be dangerous and to copy and paste and kind of figure out where things might be wrong, but I'm not a developer or an engineer. So to build this from scratch, I really had to just sink my teeth in and not let go for a good 3 months. And so it was actually a small transition. I was coming to grip with the fact that my two software products were failing and they were not going to work. And so as a last ditch effort, I tried to create a little chat interface inside of one of them that would be an AI chatbot where they can come up with social media ideas. And in the process of building that very, very basic rudimentary tool, I realized it was like everything started clicking. Like I started making these connections mentally to how to escalate the complexity of this little widget that I was creating and create something much more. And so it was around January of 2022 that I realized this is not going to work with these other products. I think I understand how these chatbots work and I can see how it might integrate with these other AI things. Maybe I should just lock in and try and build a better ChatGPT. And it took me about 8 weeks, start to finish. I was working every single day, nonstop. This is the only thing I was focusing on. And I was at my desk at 8 in the morning. I left it at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night to have dinner with my family. And then I would pick up the next day. And so for 2 weeks straight, I just built as fast and as well as I can, just really trial and erroring most of it, just building, breaking things, fixing it, and then, trying to Lego duct tape my way through it. And in 8 weeks, I had a working product that was ready for beta testers. And March 31st of 2022 is when 2023, sorry, was when I launched. So I started building in January of 2023 and had it ready for public release and signups in March of that same year. About 8 weeks start to finish till beta, and then a few weeks of polishing until it was open to the pub.
It's such a cool story, and it's so difficult to have, be working on something, have it be your baby, and then know, well, this is just not working. I got to pivot.
Yeah, excruciating, especially when you've sunk $65,000 in and you're now broke.
But hey, kudos to you, because it sounds like it worked out. That pivot worked out well. You learned new skills, and then you were able to grow and expand through that pivot.
Yeah, everything is a stepping stone.
Yeah.
The old adage is you never lose as long as you learn. So ever since hearing that, I decided every loss is going to be a learning opportunity. There's got to be something that I can take from it that will, help me use as a stepping stone to get to the next season of life.
What kind of tools did you learn, or like education did you use to learn those new skills?
Well, there was a lot of no-code platforms out there and a lot of no-code tutorials. These AI companies, they also most of them have very good documentation. And so, I really just leaned on my ability to learn new things quickly. And there were a handful of developers out there creating YouTube videos, like making their own versions of things and showing how they did it. So it was really just how can I find some no code or low code tools and experiment with a lot of them and maybe duct tape some of them together and then tie that into and apply what I'm learning from these other developers who are building their own products in public. And yeah, I mean, it was just, I never did well in school. I was not a great learner because it was somebody else's structure of how they want to learn things. I just really have to go in and get my hands dirty and just dive in, like fully immerse myself and I'm good at finding things, I guess, good at finding tutorials and being self-taught, and everything that's ever made me money, I'm completely self-taught at. I just kind of dove in and learned whatever I could. Every YouTube video, every blog post, following every developer who's making things with AI, just really fully immersed in the world of AI and building things with AI.
YouTube University is beautiful for sure. I've interviewed about 100 entrepreneurs now, and the one thing that keeps coming up is none of us like school. None of us like school at all. Do you mind talking about revenue?
Not at all.
Okay. Can you tell us where you are maybe now? Okay, you're 18 months in about or so? Yeah. What's your MRR currently?
We're currently, as of this morning, we're just over 40,000 a month in revenue. We've got over 2,000 active users, and it's been a bit of a plateau. So the industry itself, what I'm seeing is, and I'm hearing this from other AI founders as well, is there's a lot of experimentation still happening. At the beginning, it was really kind of hockey stick level growth. And we got to 10K a month very fast. And then we kind of slowly moved our way up to 15 and slowly up to 20. And then we got to about 25K a month, and we just kind of sat there for a while. And the new customers were coming in, but the churn was fairly high. As I talked to other AI company founders, the churn is very high in this particular industry. So traditional SaaS, you hope to have very low churn, but with AI SaaS, it's a very different thing because of all the exploration and because of all the things popping up and the shiny object syndrome. So people are kind of exploring with this tool and then going to check out that tool and then trying this new tool. And so people are kind of bouncing around. The thing about Magi is that's why we exist. So you don't have to bounce around. We give you all the shiny things as soon as they're available. So it's been quite a journey. It's definitely the fastest startup I've ever built. It's outpaced every software product I've built. It's outpaced every digital product, everything I've ever done. I've never gotten there this fast. We got to this many users, I think 2 or 3 times as fast as my first startup. It's been a great ride, but we have plateaued a little bit. And most of that has to do with the fact, I think, well, number one is the churn. People are just experimenting. They're not finding their workflows. And that's on me. I take that as I need to be better at education. But the problem is I'm still a pretty much one-man show. I have hired a couple developers who are helping me on a part-time basis. I'm starting to offload some of the product work to my team. But as a marketer for the last 15 years, I really have barely done any market for my own product, just because I've been so immersed in building it, refining it, perfecting it, and making sure that our customers are being served in the best way possible and trying to keep up with all the new advancements in AI. So it's been really hard to actually get out there and market it. So I've leaned very heavily on my community, very heavily on the building in public aspect, and haven't really done the SEO, haven't really done the social content strategy, haven't really done the email outreach strategy, haven't really done a great onboarding process, which is, I think, a lot of the churn can be attributed to just, I'm not onboarding users well enough. I'm not teaching them how to get the most out of the product. And if we could do that, if I had some time to do that, maybe they would stick around for much longer because they realize how they can get everything out of it that they need. So we're working on that. It's a slow process. I'm not the kind of guy that needs to, go from 0 to 1 million in, 30 days. I'd rather build slow and steady and really serve my customers well. And so I'm okay that it's kind of slow now, because I know once I can fully offload a lot of the development and a lot of the product stuff, and I do get into marketing and I can focus on that customer onboarding and retention, I know we're going to really just kind of start to skyrocket again.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and good for you for hitting that number. That is awesome. And I think that's a great segue to, the next section, like customer acquisition and growth. What strategies have you so far found to reduce churn? And I think you hit on that quite a bit of, plans that you have. What have you found so far that you've put into place that have reduced churn? The
biggest reducer in churn has been just improving the product. That's really it. So at the beginning, we had a lot of bug issues, and there's a lot of slowness in the app because just the way that these APIs work together, trying to make them all performative together is just a real challenge. And so, especially based on the stack that we have, the technology stack that we have, just made things a little bit more difficult. That made things easier to build, but the performance wasn't as good. So we've had to just kind of learn along the way of how do we make the product better, faster, stronger, so that people do stick around and don't get shiny object syndrome and drop our subscription and go pick up another one somewhere else. So it's really just been improving the product so far. And like I said, I haven't had the time to really sit down and do onboarding and do customer education. I do it as much as I can. That's why I love doing podcasts like this. It allows me to go teach. And just recently, we partnered up with the AI Academy, which is a paid membership group started by a guy named Steve Dotto of Dotto Tech. And so that partnership with AI Academy has basically allowed me to weekly create learning sessions for his group and for my audience, because all Magi users get free access to his AI Academy. I think it's something like $600 a year is what it costs. But if you're a Magi user, you get in for free. And now Magi is the official sponsor of the AI Academy, which means every lesson that we do on a weekly basis, we're using Magi to teach. And even though the concepts might be applicable to really any AI tool out there, we kind of focus in on Magi, which gives our users, the lessons and the learning opportunities that they need. And so that's been very helpful to reduce churn, giving people that additional value. But yeah, like I said, there's so much more we could do if I could just free myself up more to do it. But yeah, I'm sure, as an entrepreneur, there's, a million tasks in the day. And although AI can help us with many of them, there are some things that AI just still can't do yet. And we're waiting to get done.
My next two questions you kind of hit on. I'd like to maybe hit on them a little bit more. You mentioned like through your Facebook group, you have customer feedback and that allows you to improve Magi. How do you handle that customer feedback and how does that influence? Do you ask questions or do people just kind of come to you with new product developments that they'd like to see?
It's a mix. When you're dealing with humans, everybody they interpret things differently. They see the world in different ways, and they also process the world in different ways, which means when they have feedback, they like to give it in different ways. And so I like to be open to really all types of feedback. Sometimes it comes in the form of a Facebook post. Sometimes it comes in the form of a DM or a private message. Sometimes it's in an email. Sometimes it's in a support ticket. And so we kind of take all of that information, and most times, I think part of my acting background has really helped me. I actually went to acting school, performing arts school. A lot of acting is understanding human psychology and understanding how the human brain works. And so I feel like that has really helped me to understand when somebody brings me feedback, I can kind of read between the lines, the undertones of what they're trying to say, even if they can't quite articulate what it is they want or need. They're articulating enough for me to kind of intuitively draw it out or just kind of connect the dots for them. So, I really try to see between the lines. Somebody might say, I wish it could do A and B, but the underlying motivation is because they really want to get to C or D. I can usually make that connection. So it's really just a lot of intuition and conversations. I'm an extrovert, so any opportunity to talk to people, I'm totally there for it. So just being open to different avenues of communication and really trying to see the underlying tone and needs of the customer, even if they don't really understand it themselves. And I think that's helped a lot.
What was your inspiration to start a Facebook group? And is that kind of like behind the core of you building and getting customers that way?
So I actually resisted starting a Facebook group for a long time because I'm not a fan of Facebook. As a social media guy, I've been doing social media since 2008. And that's a long time. I just can't stand Facebook personally. But that's where my community was asking. It was actually my community reaching out to me saying, hey, we would love it if you started a Facebook group. Hey, can you start a Facebook group? Is there a place where I can connect with other Magi users? Is there a way we can do that? And the more I talked to people, the more it was like Facebook is the for lack of a better term, it's the lowest common denominator. It's the place that everybody has access to, and the group environment is already set up. A lot of the tools are already there. I could have built my own community from scratch. I could have chosen any one of the online community building tools or apps or softwares out there and had fun, like really customizing the heck out of it, and really enjoyed the process much more than starting a Facebook group. But at the end of the day, I'm here to serve my customers, not like make myself comfortable, right? I want to go where my customers are and give them the easiest possible access to us and to each other so that they can collaborate and share ideas. And eventually I bit the bullet. I've built online communities before. The largest community I've ever built was over 250,000 members. And so like I knew right away how to build a community, but I didn't want to start it until I had the time and attention to give to it properly. So part of putting it off at the beginning was I didn't want to do it on Facebook because I hate Facebook. But also like I didn't want to do it until I could afford time-wise and investment-wise to do it right and to be present there on a daily basis. And so kind of waited a while until I could offload some of the development work. And then we started on Facebook again. That's where the people wanted it to be. That was the general consensus. The other options were like Slack or Discord. And I've tried both of those options before, and it just, you lose so many people that way because that's just not how they are able to access, or it's not what they have available to them. It's not as easily accessible to them.
Makes total sense, but that's so fascinating. I would have never guessed that. And so I got to ask this question, since that, that you've grown these communities before. What was it like when you started to grow this community? What does that look like?
I mean, it's just, it's hard because, again, being an emerging technology, most communities, you're starting an established industry or you're starting around an established topic that people already have knowledge and wisdom and experience with. And so the conversations naturally start to happen. Whereas something new, a lot of people are sort of afraid to speak up. They're afraid to like voice, like, I don't get this. I don't understand this. So it really has to start with me. I have to be the one going in there and starting the conversations and stoking the fire and posing the questions and posting tutorials and updates. And so at this point, it's still a lot of me in there, just kind of pushing the conversation forward. But we've noticed over the last, few months, a lot of people have started to speak up. They've actually started to voice their questions. They've started to share the things they're working on. We've got a guy named Oz, who is a great artist, and he starts to share a lot of his AI generated artwork that he's using Magi to produce. We've got someone in the community who is actually an IT professional. His name's Leaf, and Leaf actually works for a local school district here. And he has so much knowledge, so much technical knowledge that he is starting to give back to the community every now and then with his, ideas, learnings, and answering questions. And so it really just kind of took some time for me to lead in that I need to be active in the community, and then just hopefully just let that community start to build itself, have people contribute to conversations, ask questions, and, share ideas. And you really just got to lead by example and hope that you're building a product that people are using, because the whole community is based on the product. So if the product is bad, people don't understand the product, they're not going to talk about it in the community. But if you're building a good product and you have people in there who feel open, who feel safe, and then that's another thing that I wanted to build, a community that everybody can't join. It's a private community. You have to request to join. You have to fill out our questions and answer our questions. So it's more of a private space. It's a safe space. And as long as you create that safe space, and you are leading by example by contributing there and sharing there, it should absolutely start to build itself and build upon its own momentum.
My last kind of question on the Facebook thing and the marketing side of things is, I asked this because I've talked to several people who, they were kind of the OGs of Facebook. It was so easy to build communities and build pages. It was like wildfire and crazy. When you first started this out, what was it like growing? Did you find momentum quickly? And how did you find momentum? Was it the content you posted, the people that you reached out to? What was that like to build that?
No, it was hard. So this community, again, with the technology itself, it was hard for people to sort of speak up because they didn't know either what to say, or they were afraid to sort of look stupid, I guess, by posting things that may be obvious to other people. And so it was really kind of hard at first. So it was really a lot of just me posting updates and posting things that I was creating, things that I was using AI for. But by leading by example and teaching, I am really drawn to teaching. I guess that's the actor in me, the performer in me, wanting to tell stories and just share. So like naturally that part of me wants to teach and help people grow. And so that I think drove a lot of the early on growth and engagement in the community. It's just me being willing to share and teach and help people grow. And it wasn't easy. It still is not easy because I'm pulled in so many directions every day. But like I said, now people are starting to really contribute and ask questions and have conversations.
That compounding effect is so cool.
Yeah.
So coming down to like kind of my last handful of questions, operational and personal insight type questions. What does your typical day look like, especially for someone who is more of a solo founder?
Typical day. I walk my kids to school every morning. My wife is a teacher, so she has to leave early. So she's out of the house like 6:30, 6:45. So I got to walk the kids to school. I really enjoy walking the kids to school. We're 5 minutes from school, so it's a nice little walk. And then I'm usually at my desk by 8:00, 8:05. And I kind of just plan out my day. Like I take a snapshot of what I have to get done today. And I try to see, all right, do I have time to go get a quick workout in before I get into the thick of it? Because I've been trying to get back into the gym as much as possible. Really am a fan of keep your body, you keep pushing your body, keep growing, keep yourself healthy, then your brain works much better. You have much more mental capacity and more energy at the end of the day, oddly enough. So I try to work out every day. It doesn't always happen, just depends on what the schedule is. After that, it's just a matter of trying to prioritize what's urgent, what's important, and how do I juggle all of that throughout today and looking at the week ahead. How do I attack all this strategically? And I don't really have a great consistent system. It's not like, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm working on marketing stuff. It's really fluctuates from day to day. Now, I do have a bit of a methodology that I follow, but it's more of a time management methodology and an energy management methodology. So I'm a big fan of the Pomodoro technique. I probably 10 years ago now, something like that, I went to the eye doctor. I told the eye doctor I was having a lot of headaches and eye fatigue at the end of the day. And she said, well, do you work at a computer? And I was like, yeah, like 8, 9 hours, 10 hours a day. And she goes, well, do this every 20 minutes. I want you to take a break. And for 20 seconds, stare at something 20 feet away. So it's the 20-20-20 principle. Every 20 minutes for 20 seconds, look at something 20 feet away and then go back. And I was like, that seems way too simple. And she was like, trust me, your headaches will go away. You won't have any more eye fatigue. And I was like, all right, I'll try it. And so I did. And sure enough, all the headaches stopped. All the eye fatigue went away. And at the end of the day, I actually had more energy. I didn't feel like I was so drained. And so around that same time, I found the Pomodoro technique, which says you should work for 25-minute intervals and then take a 3 to 5 minute break and go back and forth, and then maybe take a longer break after 4 or 5 sessions. So I took that and I created sort of this hybrid. I'm going to work in 20-minute intervals. I'm going to focus on one thing at a time, and then I'm going to take a break every 20 minutes. And ever since implementing that, I have been so much more productive. I have been less cranky at the end of the day. I've been less drained, and I do not get headaches as frequently. Now, sometimes because of a meeting or because there's a crisis happening, I may not stick to that 20 minutes religiously. Since implementing it, as long as I stick to it, I get things done. And I don't have the back pain that I would typically get as well from just sitting down all day. Every 20 minutes, I stand up and I go do my staring. I may walk around and get some water, might do some push-ups or some squats just to get the blood flowing. And then I created my own app called Pomolite. If you go to pomolite.com, it's literally just a 20-minute timer that goes off every 20 minutes and gives you I think a 3-minute break is the default. And so I use that. I use my own app to time my sessions, and I tackle my to-do list, as it needs to be tackled. And that kind of dictates my flow throughout the day.
I think a lot of people, me included, I'm going to start using that exact technique because, yeah, same thing. Headaches and eye fatigue is at the end of the day.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Honestly, I mean, it's hard. The first instinct is, well, I do really deep work and I don't want to interrupt my flow when I'm in that deep work. But trust me, once you've done, 3, 4, 5 sessions, and even if you only take a 20-second break, that deep work, you can jump right back into it and not be affected. But the benefits of it, no more eye fatigue, not being as tired, less back pain. I mean, I'm telling you, I can honestly say it has been life-changing for me. So yeah, set that 20-minute timer. Pomolite.com is completely free. So whether it's your phone or Pomolite, set it, try it for a week and see if the results have worked. And
so
let me
cool.
know. I'd love to hear it.
What tools, technologies, or like software do you use to manage your business? Do you have anything that you just can't live without because it helps you save time?
Yeah. So Slack is our communications method of choice. I hate email because it's just so filled with spam and garbage, and hard to get back to. So Slack is my primary communication tool with my team. Palmolight, the tool I created just to keep my 20-minute intervals. Todoist is my project and task management tool of choice. And we use, well, I wouldn't say I can't live without Notion. There are a lot of things we do with Notion, but we could potentially live without it. And obviously our payment processor, Stripe, couldn't live without Stripe. Obviously, I use an app called Spark for our email, for my email anyways, because it allows me to like snooze stuff and keep my inbox zero pretty clean. Big fan of inbox zero. I hate having unread notifications and stuff. So like keeping my inbox clean is important. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I'm looking through my tech stack right now. That's pretty much it. That I could survive and build my business over and over again if that's the only tech stack.
The last area of the interview, this is kind of a vague question, but I feel like I haven't talked to a whole lot of AI people. So I really want to ask this question. And, you know, I'm sure it's like you said, it's changing at such a rapid pace. It's hard to kind of tell. But from where you stand and what you've, you know, the experiences that you've had, where do you see AI being in 5 years?
Man, 5 years is hard. That's a really tricky question. I think in the next year to 2 years, what we're going to see is a lot of these technologies converge. The big mind-blowing thing that happened, I think it's been about 6 months or so now, is when OpenAI made their flagship model multimodal. And multimodal just means it's more than just text. It can now do images as well. And I think they're going to move more and more towards that multimodal or omni model with their new family of models called the Omni family. I think all these models are going to follow suit. And although they might be leveraging different AI models and systems within it, I think ultimately it's going to be one AI model who's managing a bunch of these AI technologies and calling on those technologies when they need it. Because that's essentially what a multimodal model is. So ChatGPT can't generate images, but DALL-E 3 can. And what GPT can do is it can say, oh, the user wants an image. I'm going to make a call over to DALL-E 3, tell it what image to make, and then deliver that image to the user. And so that's kind of how these multimodal chat interfaces work. And so I think over the next year or two, we're going to see a lot of the models becoming multimodal, have multiple capabilities inside of one chat interface so that these AI models can just do pretty much anything. You want to generate an image, it'll generate an image. You want to generate audio, it'll generate audio. You want to generate a video, it'll generate video. It'll have all of these capabilities built into it. And as developers and people like me continue to find practical use cases for it, we'll start to build in these additional capabilities for the AI models to access. So I think you're going to see a lot of advancements, a lot of actionable, practical applications being built in these chatbots. Now, 3 to 5 years from now, there's a lot of talk about AGI, artificial general intelligence, the actual singularity, the self-aware AI. I don't think that's going to come in the next 3 to 5 years because the leap that is going to need to happen is very, very great. When you work intimately with these AI models, you see how far they kind of have to go to reach like true intelligence. So I think we've got some time on that, but I think over the next 2 to 3 years is going to be really crucial to see how these capabilities advance and become more actionable and start to do more than just chat. They're going to actually be able to take action outside the chat and become much, much more capable in terms of features and different modalities of what you can put in and get out of these AI.
So we're not going to have any self-aware robots walking around. No iRobot.
I don't think iRobot is, it's not on the way. Not anytime, not in the next 3 to 5 years. Elon announced, he just showed off his Optimus robot, and as good as it looks, I know the underlying technology under it and its capabilities, and it's not iRobot yet. It's even close.
Thank goodness. There's a question I love to ask everybody. It kind of gives, I think, the audience and a sense of how everything in your life came to be. What was your childhood like? Did you always want to own your own business?
No. So I always wanted to be an actor. That was my one and only goal. I mean, I went through phases as a kid. I was like, at one point I was like, I want to be a comic book artist, and I want to be a lawyer, and I want to be all of those things at once, and an actor. I'm going to be all these things. Eventually it was predominantly, I want to be an actor. I want to tell stories. I want to be in movies because I loved TV. Most of all, I loved film. But what I think really shaped or planted the entrepreneurial seed in me is, my mom was a bartender all my life. She worked for 30 years at a local restaurant called the Quaker Steak and Lube. She was a bartender. My stepdad, who raised me, he was a steel worker. He worked in the steel industry. So I grew up in small town Pennsylvania. Steel industry was huge out there. And that industry went through a lot of ups and downs. And so he went through several periods where he got laid off and he was unemployed. And we were really struggling for a long time. We were on food stamps for a while, but he was always a hard worker. He did whatever he could to provide for us. And so did my mom. And so I saw them go through this, this struggle and working hard, and still, no matter how hard they work, sometimes somebody else decided your fate, right? He didn't want to get let go from his job. He was doing a great job, he was working hard, but somebody else decided you're not worth keeping around, or we can't afford to keep you around. And so I think the idea that the American dream of go get a good job and your good job will take care of you as long as you work hard, I never bought it. I didn't believe it. Even though, my mom always worked, she probably deserved many more raises and she deserved a lot more than they were willing to pay her. And, seeing my stepdad get let go multiple times from different steel companies, I was just like, I don't ever want to leave my future, my reality, my dreams into somebody else's hands. I don't want anybody else to tell me what I'm worth. I don't want anybody else to have that ability to dictate my future. Being an actor, that's kind of what I thought I was doing. I'm the one out there, hustling, going to the auditions, and I'm going to make, a career for myself. But in reality, it really is. You're leaving it up to the producers and the casting directors to say, you're worth paying for, or you're not good enough for this role. And so entrepreneurship was just, I think it started to grow from that very young age. And I want to dictate my future. And it wasn't until, truth be told, it wasn't until like a network marketing opportunity came along and somebody convinced me to join a network marketing group that I realized like I really can just go find a way to make my own money and build my own business. And it was that learning that I got from that network marketing company that eventually led me to go, yeah, I need to start my own business, and not somebody else's business who's just having me resell their products. I want to create my own products and my own services.
Will resonate with so many people, myself included, for sure. What advice would you give to someone looking to start their own business?
Do it. That's honestly, I've been asked that question a bunch of times, and the only thing I could ever say is just do it. Find a way you can serve people, and just take the leap. Now, don't leave your day job. Don't take more risk than you can afford to take. I mean, we live in such a plentiful time right now. I mean, the time we live in is so amazing. You could start up a side hustle selling Etsy products in 5 minutes, and you have a business. You have a side business that you could, if you have some sort of value you can give to other people, there's no barrier to entry, practically. You can start making your first dollar in the next 10 minutes. And I think that's an amazing world that we live in because of technology. My one and only piece of advice is just do it. Just figure it out. Find a way you can provide value and ask people if they're willing to pay for it. You don't have to be an overnight success. You most likely will not be, but I once heard it said that it is impossible to stop a person who will not quit. And that's what I did. I didn't quit. It took me about 2 years working full time while doing my side hustle, taking on clients, to leave and go out on my own and create my own agency. I was working for a t-shirt printing shop. I was a graphic designer for a t-shirt printer. And it was the catalyst for me leaving was I had enough clients who were paying me on a monthly retainer or for ongoing projects that I could safely leave that full-time job and be financially okay. We weren't plentiful. We were ramen profitable is what us indie founders like to call it. But I was able to leave that job, and I did it, at the right time, I think, without taking on too much risk. Now, we did struggle for a while, but I'm a big fan of like stick to your job. Make sure that you're not taking on too much risk as long as you need to, and then make the jump full time. But you just got to start somewhere. Again, if it's an Etsy shop, if it's a buy me a coffee, link, start something, give value in some way, and ask people if they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah. For sure. Looking back in history, I mean, the opportunity is everywhere. It is insane. It's insane. My last question is, where can people find more about you and your business?
Magi.co, magai.co is where you can find out everything. If you want to find me on social, I'm at Dustin W. Stout on all the social.
Dustin, it was so great to meet you. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be here.